Hello, our viewers. Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Citizens Chat Show. We are delighted that you are able to join us and join this discussion. And this month we expected to have a discussion generally on the women's issues because this being the Women's Month, we hoped to conclude the month talking about women and Uganda and the greater world of women. Unfortunately, along the week and the other days, of course, we have lost a very prominent Ugandan, the Speaker of Parliament, who has been a colleague to many of us, who has been also a father, a friend, you know, in many, many ways he can be described. And we have to honor him in this episode. We would like to welcome you to join us in this discussion. We'll be honoring him in our various contributions today. Of course, this is Citizens Space. Ladies and gentlemen who are in the studio with me, when a person in Africa passes on, usually it is only the good we hear, even if he was a thief. Unfortunately, the other part is not talked about, but there is no perfect person. It's only God who is. There are usually good things that can be said, but also bad things. I think being as it is a civic space, we can freely engage, raise the good side of his life, but also the other side that several spaces were also spiritedly talking about. It's part of the discussion. So, but respectfully, I know, because the team that I have in the studio here is capable of doing that. So I would like to welcome you. I would like to welcome you, our usual team, suspects, Mr. Ochieno Joseph. This one I will not introduce in detail because by now we are well known on this space. Sarah Bireete, we all know, not much, we can add on that. Perhaps I'll take more time introducing Agaba here, Honourable. Honourable Abbas Agaba is my peer. He was my immediate youth chairperson in the youth politics of Uganda. I came after him. I came in the politics of youth after him. Honourable Agaba served also in the last parliament, and of course he's a prominent lawyer in Uganda. And you told me just a few minutes when we were out there about the Afro-Arab engagements, of course. And then I think you're well known to Sarah as well. There's a lot you share in your past life, which I didn't know.
I'm the only one who don't know any of you guys.
Me and you in this case. You're welcome, Honourable Agaba.
Yes, thank you.
We are so delighted having you, sir, on this space.
Why not? I'm happy to be here and happy
this
to
is like
share.
a third time.
Is
Yes,
that so?
I think so.
Wow.
It's the third time.
What I know about you is you are always available when you can.
Yes,
To engage with the public.
When I can add value, I would be very happy to grab the earliest opportunity to add value if I can. So I'm happy really to be in this session.
Okay.
Mr. Ochieno, I see him from a distance, sometimes through what he writes.
Okay.
I'm happy I'll meet him face to face. You were talking about his red tie.
His red tie looks very nice.
Him himself.
and a prominent preacher talked about slaying and praying hard. I'm sure Sarah is also slaying and praying hard. You know, she's always smart and to the
Sarah
point.
has been slaying even when we were still youth. So she has changed.
Wow.
He's now front biting me.
I've heard that.
So you
I'm now
see
interested.
that they are
In
very
the front biting?
Yes, I'm interested.
they know each other.
But you see, there's what we call LCM in mathematics. Many of us, many young people now in the limelight or in the leadership, at least we have some common, some lowest common multiple somewhere.
That is very true. We've come from,
It's been a good platform, I think, for mentoring, for growth.
I actually didn't know, Sarah, you were a very serious youth activist back then, a leader.
Even I was a child activist.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a child activist.
Wow, you've had a long history. Okay, so ladies in the studio, ladies and gentle lady, because I'm the one hosting you, so I cannot count myself on you. I've enjoyed this space, by the way, and it's enjoyable. I would like just to, of course, just to put the issues to perspective. We are going to be talking general about the life of the late Right Honourable Oulanyah. particularly in terms of his life journey, his leadership impact in the country and beyond. You've had the Kenyan parliament the other day honored him, and many other parliaments across the world, I believe. Of course, in his death, he has also enlisted so many, issues in terms of the tribalism that has come to the fore, the questions that the family is raising, and the issues of the health sector that his death as well put to the front, and the rest to the speakership, the way it has been handled, and so many things that you can pick, to raise in the discussion. But just to reinstate what we all know, of course, Right Honourable Oulanyah came to the limelight in 201, when he became, because the other life of the student politics, that one I think Honourable Abbas is very much familiar with. I, as a politician, am also very familiar just with the life of politics, how he started. He started in Omoro in 201 as an MP elected under the one-party system. And then came and chaired the legal committee, which we all subscribed to when we were there with the Honourable Abbas. In that time, he was, of course, responsible for the report that came out of the legal committee, which amended the constitution and the lifting of the term limits.
Omnibus bill.
The omnibus bill, the many bills which were within. And I think because of that, he lost the election. That is what the reports are saying. Then he made a comeback in 206, having crossed to NRM. That time when in 2011, came back in 2011. Came back and went straight for deputy speakership. At that time, I was also in parliament. And he succeeded very, very well. And then came back, served for 2 terms. And Right Honourable Kadaga, and now was going to make his stint with the main seat. Unfortunately, death robbed us from, such a caliber of a person, having done so much also outside parliament. So we are really, as Ugandans, I think the monitor said he has united Ugandans in mourning.
His demise, yeah.
Yeah, his demise has united us as a country. And I think it's right that we have a discussion in honor and also raise some other issues that I've already highlighted in the discussion. I think it's very important for our audience here. So I don't know who I would want to start with. Maybe ladies are always preferred, especially in this kind of minority numbering. So Sarah, I'll give you the first opportunity. And I think yesterday you considered the same discussion on your other spaces. Yeah, so but yeah, I know you give us a foundation.
Yeah,
With his life
thank
first,
you.
let's deal with his life and his leadership journey, his leadership impact. Yeah, first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator.
Yeah.
I really, what I know about his life is what is in public domain. I did not interact with him so much on a one-to-one basis. So I know a bit of what was said of his race at Makere when he was a guild speaker and the shootings, the killing of students. I was in lower secondary.
At that time.
Yeah. But that strike was, highly publicized. I think it was the first time for NRM now to shoot and kill university students.
That was which year?
99,
98?
91,
No, 93.
Around there.
91,
Okay.
93.
around there. So from there, then I saw him again in the house as an MP, very eloquent, very smart, known for his trademark bow tie and then the mustache. He didn't change that public image. And I don't know when he acquired it, but it remained his signature appearance in the public.
He perfected
But whenever
it.
he would take to the floor of parliament, everyone would stop and listen. Whether it was on radio, whether it was on TV, you would stop and listen. He had the commanding respect in public, his eloquence, research, he would be spot on. very intelligent submissions. So we enjoyed a bit of that in the parliament in 201 to
6.
Yes, but his eloquence died with the amendment of the constitution when he engaged now in the controversial lifting of term limits. The limelight went away from him because he could not now resonate with the public. The shine went away, but it also went away in the campaign.
Okay.
And as a result, he lost the race. So spent the 5 years doing ordinary legal practice and peace work on the LRI peace process, but not too much in
Not
the
too
limelight.
much in the limelight.
And he bounced back in 2011 as Komakech, Oulanyah, and the Mao. So according to Komakech, Oulanyah wakes them up at 3
In the morning.
in the night. And he says, I'm going to cross 10 a.m.
Just
He
like
said,
that.
what? He said, you people have been sleeping, but you have been awake. But as they say, if you can't win them,
Join them.
you join them. So he said, tomorrow I'm going to announce and call a few people and announce. Then Komakech says that we thought he had got a bad dream. So we convinced him, please go back to sleep. Let's talk in the morning.
When you wake up very early.
Yes. Okay. So that when he woke up, he said, no, let me join them. Yes. Let me go on the other side. And indeed, I think he made the official announcement of crossing 20 a.m. And he went. And so to me, even the ability to make a decision, because you have a lot of leaders who keep zigzagging.
Back and forth.
In a multi-party dispensation, it is okay to cross lines. Even in developed countries, you cross the floor. But you have people, they are on this side, then they also claim to be on this side. I think really that is very dangerous.
Okay.
Yeah, so to me, I give him credit for that.
Being straightforward.
Yes, you have taken a decision for better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
Take it. Yeah, so that kind of determination, I think, is what has made him achieve what he has achieved. In the first session as Deputy Speaker, 2011, 2016, he did fairly well because I think he had a better working relationship.
With his senior.
With the, yes, Kadag. I don't like the word
The
boss.
senior, okay.
Because I don't see people who are elected by the same constituency. Why one should be referred
By virtue of
as a
office.
No.
The constitution of the office.
I know, but it's not. No, even in
that
other,
one is okay
in
properly
other
in our spaces
even I
outside.
don't like the word boss.
Okay.
But even if I was a deputy speaker, I don't think I would refer to my speaker as a boss. No, I wouldn't. No.
Okay.
If you're the vice president?
We draw our authority from the same. Vice president is not elected.
The same up.
You can, because it is up to the giver. That one, but where is seek election? No, you are not my boss. We can
You will
only
be
comrades.
fired very quickly, maybe.
But you are not the one who appointed me. I can only say you are boss if you are. I am up to your wishes and whims. You have appointed me. But where I campaign
for
and
election,
win,
yes.
you are voted by the same MPs. I'm voted by the same MPs. It's a difference in office.
But there's an order of precedence that you know.
Yes,
the
you
other...
are my senior.
Yeah.
But I would address you as a comrade.
Okay.
Senior comrade, maybe, but not boss. Yes. Okay. So he.
That is the child activist.
It
is still in her, as you can see. Okay.
So in the last leg as deputy speaker, he was more or less out of the limelight until when he started attending parliament as a backbench and what would cause excitement. But I think he, in his right as an MP, if he's not chairing a session, there's no harm.
He was enjoying life outside.
The session as an ordinary MP. But I think that was also unfortunate that people who are aiming at the same cause, then you start working in that manner.
In the reverse order, when you started very well. Actually.
So I think that was not good. But in terms of his other life in legal practice. Very promising career, like to do pro bono mentorship sessions, but also straight legal practice.
Absolutely.
Because he never at any moment was summoned by the law council for any indiscipline or misconduct. So also you see a straightforward person there. In
I am with you in
practice.
some pages where I think people were up in arms in terms of the impact of his leadership. That other side, of course, I don't want to say that those are non-supporters of NRM, but just civic leaders, civic persons in Uganda, ordinary Ugandans engaging, and they accused, you know, the speaker for the leadership time that he had and the impact of his leadership in terms of policy and also the output that we have right now as a country. Maybe I just wanted to hear your comment on that.
I think the bill that he pushed almost single-handedly is the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act,
Okay.
through chairing the legal committee, which was fundamental at that time and instrumental in regulating the creative industry, although now it needs some amendments.
Okay.
His lifetime as chair of legal committee, the first
Beyond,
2.5
speaker.
years was shining.
As
She has been speaker for
Deputy
10
rather.
months. Shortly,
shortly.
almost 10 months, the shortest serving speaker.
So far.
I think it would, that doesn't give you enough time to say whether he was a good or bad speaker. He set an agenda for a pro-people parliament.
Okay.
He was present at the launch of the alternative legislative agenda.
I did see him.
Surprisingly, I was physically present.
Oh.
He came and launched the leader of opposition's legislative alternative agenda. I think that was a remarkable step. And you would see a man determined to have a united house.
Uganda.
Driving to the common people-driven purpose. It is very unfortunate that he has not lived enough. Because this is the politics that we miss in this country.
That is it, yeah.
Under NRM, you cannot achieve much, unfortunately, unless you are in such powerful office. Under and it's good we have my friend who is a member there. Under the rigidity and manipulations of NRM, you would be named a rebel, you would be fought, you would be, those are some of the battles they fiercely fight for anybody trying to think of their
alternative,
own, claiming to have a vision.
Let me leave you, Sarah. Let me go to Honourable Ochieno here. I think having spent, I think a whole lifetime of yours in UPC, of course you have lived it. You've seen a lot of, things happening in this country, and always doing analysis out of it. What do you make of Oulanyah's, contribution in the country, but also, of course, what your memorable things that you can honor him with in his life that he lived?
I actually happen to have a draft, a tribute to him on my Sunday column, which we just sent, so I don't know whether, but I hope it's published this Sunday. And I decided to do so sort of reluctantly because it was a bit mixed. In part because I have only done this to very particular selected individuals. And then occasionally on request
are you doing it for UPC members or former members?
Regardless, it will depend on who, because I can't do it all the time every time somebody dies.
Okay.
So somebody will have to meet a criteria. But once one or two members and one or two friends who may be possibly emotionally related to Jacob asked me on a note, will you? It sort of pushed me towards doing it. And in the tribute, I refer to some of the things that Sarah mentioned. And of course, then it compelled me to rethink backwards, as you say. When Oulanyah was actually shot as a student activist, those days I was the lead activist abroad in the campaigns around return to multipartyism in Uganda and the broader human rights abuses here. And of course, the Makere thing was one of those symbolic things. And I remember attending at least two television studios in relation to, and of course, the TVs which were not as many as this, it was major because, as Sarah says, it was a very important and significant development here in Uganda. And so, in a way, that was the earliest relationship, direct relationship with Oulanyah. But also, you're right that as early as that time, most student activists that mattered, we had an idea about them, who in many cases were involved with supporting them in one way or another, or encouraging them. And a few obviously looked up to us.
He was a direct mentee of UPC party.
Indeed. And I suggest that when I returned from exile, there was an incident that I was at Uma Hall in Lugogo, and I was leaving Uma Hall to go to attend Northern Ugandan Women Parliamentary Group events. And so he saw me getting out, and he literally rushed around the hall to basically just about catch up with me by the door to give me his card so that we exchange cards, so we must meet. The point there is that this was a very clear, very ambitiously, positively driven character, somebody who was quite determined, and you could actually see that there was a national element to it, but there was a drive to everything else that he stood with, and all the energy. And I found that actually extremely extraordinary. It's unfortunate that shortly after he was elected, I had the intentions of meeting him. We had a few exchanges, but we didn't get to meet. And one of them was I wanted to push some of my own skills, contributions, plus some other networks to help actually support the work in the modernization of our parliament and actually upping the quality of debate, something that he was passionate about. So to that end, it is unfortunate, but Sarah is obviously right. I don't know what an Oulanyah-led assembly would have looked like 3 years from today, because we'll never have tested it on him. The one thing that I know of is if he stood out and said and took a position, it was going to be very interesting if that position was contradictory to Mr. Museveni's, and how much they're going to bat with it.
Save to the dog.
Yes. But to the extent that actually woke up at 3 o'clock and decided to join NRM for whatever reason, he turned out to be someone who nearly invoked a Jesus, where we sort of disagreed, and at the same time, you would see that he was basically driven by something around which it was very much about him or whatever he believed in. That maybe would have limited his drive for the modernization if it was conflicting with Mr. Museveni, or perhaps in this case, or perhaps almost led to that. But possibly somebody would possibly avoid some of these things if it is out of conversations. But other than that, one other credit to him. He was UPC. I know the positive elements absolutely UPC. I must take them on board. I mean, must take them with me and receive them. But he also showed that if he was determined and decided on something that he felt was right for himself, he was going to go for it. For that he went, and he went with the NRM ticket. One on the pragmatic thing, Sarah, I think he lost the popularity as a result of some of his actions. But on the other thing, there was this, Northern Uganda was possibly on the downward trajectory of UPC, and he possibly spotted it and maybe pragmatically jumped ship. So it may not necessarily have been the other way around. And in a way, that's how partially looked at it. But that said, the most unfortunate thing is the process in which we are now involved, where out of Oulanyah, there is these conversations of identities which involve the major national public figures and bringing in politics that we thought we had left behind, and that I'm not quite sure Oulanyah would have been a party to.
Okay, so Honourable Agaba, you worked with Honourable Oulanyah, you and I, although for quite a short time. I think probably in the legal fraternity you had encountered him in other ways. Maybe just your thoughts on how you can remember him. What did you celebrate about his leadership?
Thank you. Oulanyah was worth a mentor for many people. Like we're saying, most of us have gone through students' leadership and youth leadership. And some young people there keep following you, even without your notice that they're following you. I want to believe strongly that there are many young people following in his footsteps. Putting up the show that he did in Makerere as a guild speaker, as a students' leader, was good foundation for him to spring forward. Universities are good, and I've encouraged every young people I've met, please do it now. Because this is your time.
Okay.
You have capacity to make mistakes in university. You can correct them later because you are young. And it will be understood. Either you did it for the inner energy in you or for whatever reasons. I am cautious now on the decisions I take because I now have family. I mean, after 40, you don't just make decisions anyhow.
You're
But-
walking like we are in eggshells.
Yes, you are cautious now. But before, when we were in university, 19, 20, 21 years, you are free. And so those decisions that time, the participation in the leadership, I think it was good to come through, to put up a good show. And it was not easy to be elected, even to go to the parliament of the guild to become somebody.
tough.
Yes. Beyond the Oulanyah as a lawyer, yes, very prolific, very, you know, he teamed up with Honourable, another very brainy.
I'm told Mao also. Were they in one company? I mean, farm rather.
They've been close with Mao
Okay.
for some time, but I know they were with Honourable, Honourable in the law firm. Honourable is another big legal brain around, and I think it gave them a good foundation. You know, we'll talk about the tribal thing later, but now you see how young people finish school and they are clicking up together, how they are forming themselves out back home. Oulanyah, Honourable, but somehow they start up something that is
you form a business with people you don't know?
You have
business.
to.
No. Yeah, on one side, yes. It can't be that democratic. I mean, this is a business. This is a foundation. The Oulanyah, I think, came to greater limelight in this with that constitutional amendment. And Sarah says that was that time he lost his popularity. I think yes, there is popularity and fame. It kept him in the news for some time. How he had led the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, they had come up with this report. You see, I have been to Parliament and I'm happy I've been there. What happens in Parliament is different from the way we see it outside. I don't know why. What happens in there when you are in
Because
is
of
different.
the interests.
Well, I don't know that it's because of the
Contestation of
interests,
interests.
but I think you have a bigger picture in mind. Mr. Ochieno almost talked about it. For me,
When you are outside, you don't have a bigger picture.
no, not necessarily. Let me bring it this way. In the Quran, there's a verse. There's a verse that tells us that there should come up a group among you that teaches others to do good, and it's good. You should be part of that group.
Okay.
Seeing the attempted isolation of the North and many people feeling it's easier to associate with opposition for the North to appear to be opposed to the country, to the establishment. I think a decision to lead the others into what they think should be opposed for the bigger picture, for the bigger good. I was at a DC in Sereri, and this is what I used to tell them in 2012. They were opposed to government. That time I was there, I had my brother Okupa as the MP, my brother Ochola was the MP also, Madam Alisara. So really the district was fully FDC. This is a younger person in. I told them, okay, maybe you don't like the government that is there now. Many of you say you are waiting for your government to come. But you must be with this government that is there now, as you wait for yours to come, because when will yours come? What if you wait until you die before it has come? Somehow people began changing their minds to understand that they need to work with the current government. And I was happy. Later on, they voted some NRM people. I think Madam Adwa came as NRM, then Bishop Agaba as NRM and others.
Now almost, apart from Okupa.
To bring the district.
Although that's not necessarily what you meant. What you meant was that working with government does not necessarily mean you should join them. Although Mr. Museveni's views are slightly different. Not to politicize your point, fair point you're making. Because working together as a community, you're an RDC, you want networking and partnership and everything, so that people receive services regardless.
For me, what I actually noticed that it seems when Oulanyah crossed to NRM, quite a number of UPC persons left and joined.
Actually, the time Oulanyah crossed, it may not have been a very good timing for him. Actually, the time of the constitutional amendment, because it's expected that now that he had brought it to the fore, there should have been stronger efforts to make sure he retains his seat down in the constituency. He lost his seat. It's frustrating to lose a seat. And even after losing the seat, the system did not bring him through.
Close.
That there's work he was doing inside that he was not really. It didn't bring him into the news.
Yeah.
The way you see those many who have lost election here, they give them something. That people say, okay,
rehabilitate.
he has been there, he has been remembered.
So
some people thought he had not been remembered.
If you don't mind,
But if you have seen a bigger
could it have
picture-
been the case that by the time he was being part of this constitutional amendment, his heart was already elsewhere, and
He was already crafted.
Well, I
But
don't know.
let me
I
ask
may
you
not
another
know
the
that.
devil's advocate, but
Let me ask another question.
Yes.
If you said when you're there, you see a big picture in Parliament. So if you had seen the big picture, and the big picture was to lift term limits, wouldn't he be satisfied with that? Why would he want it to be brought closer?
No. The coming close is my own comment. Because the public were expected that now that he has worked with the president through this and he has lost election, he should be remembered quickly. He's given something to keep him in the public eye that he's still there, he's still remembered.
fair enough point. Yeah.
Appreciated.
So when it did happen, I think the people felt more disappointed. Now, whether his heart was already there or not, I don't know. I couldn't have done a better introspection to understand. But you could see where he was heading. You could see he's a progressive person, really. And he wanted his people to progress with the leadership. Now, I think he went back and did his homework. Now, his intention, his actions as chairperson of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, he was absorbed when he stands for election in 2011 and comes through.
And comes back.
Moreover, on NRM ticket this time. Of course, a lot of work had been done by the NRM to change the North really back to the NRM, post-Konya and blah, blah, blah. The good thing that happened is when he came to Parliament in 2011 and straight, he shot for the deputy speakership and he got it.
He tried to contest for Northern Uganda at
Chairman,
Nambole,
yes, of
first and
NRM.
failed. Yes.
Yes, it was true. Actually, he not even before he contest, when he went to contest, they told him, man, we don't know you in the NRM. Are you really with us? What shows? He had to run through some backdoor methods to make sure he gets the card.
For NRA.
But this is
Which year
political.
was that?
It happens. 2010.
2010
yes.
before, yes.
So he wasn't NRM enough yet.
Chizige, Honourable Chizige, who was now that time at the secretariat, a close friend of Oulanyah, had to do some backdoors to make sure the man gets the card to
goes
contest
for the
for the election to be vice chairman of NRM
Yeah.
for Northern.
Yeah.
And you see, this is a new person into NRM. People didn't trust him much that he
And
really understood the details. It was Honourable Moses, I think, who
came
went
through.
as vice chairman of NRM. That
Yeah.
time I was lucky to work with them on SEC as chairman of the youth league
Yeah.
of the NRM then. So, but when he shot for the deputy speaker and he got it, I think now this one answered every other people's question, and it became a good entry or a good entry as well as stabilization of Northern Uganda with the government, with the NRM government. Yes, and we shouldn't forget he also participated in the talks with Konya.
Yeah,
To
LRA.
try and bring peace to the north. I think this is credit on his side, and that's what I was saying. He could have seen the bigger picture. My people don't appreciate the government, but yes, the Baganda say "Akutwale ekiro, omusima bukedde." Let me lead them in the night. Maybe tomorrow, when there's light, they will understand that no, there was a reason why this man thought we should move. Now
But
that's
Honourable Agaba, I was in Parliament at that time, and the way Oulanyah campaigned, he surprised everyone. I remember being in the parking, he just approached me, Honourable, he was very humble, and he addressed everybody with, that decorum and respect,
formality, yes.
and being a young person then,
Yes,
and then he
yes.
was, honoring me and asking for his vote individually. And at that time, we had known Peter Nyombi was the, the candidate of the party, and Oulanyah came from nowhere and campaigned and aggressively won that election. But the point I want to raise and also remind you is that I think at that time, SEC was not as controlling and micromanaging as it is right now, because then your capacity as an individual,
Did not matter.
it mattered more.
The
Okay.
country
Oh,
was-
yeah, okay, I get
your
the
point.
Yeah,
country
matter
was
more.
still transitioning from individual merit
To
party
now
merit.
very NRM.
Yeah.
NRM style.
Party
Yeah?
merit. Ochieno, every party wants to control.
Yeah,
No,
consolidate
Yes.
itself.
No.
Every party wants to control. You should go to CCM and see how they whip their people. You must. They want you to really.
UPC is older than NRM, but
So
we
now
don't
if you
control.
don't
But anyway,
come
that's a
from
different
SED,
topic.
you
Yeah.
cannot make it anywhere.
Now, Oulanyah, the speaker, very interesting character, very nice guy. At least I interacted with him. One time we had a caucus meeting when his pull and push had started with Right Honourable Kadaga in Entebbe. And the president is like, these people, I don't understand them. They are big people. They are putting themselves in the public. You people. So they talked and talked and talked. Finally, Oulanyah came to speak. He said, I think it was when they were campaigning. Oulanyah wanted to be speaker. Kadaga wanted to be speaker. They were trying to talk to Oulanyah, please.
Wait,
calm down.
Your
Go for
time will
deputy for the second term, maybe.
There is a queue.
So Oulanyah politely says, Your Excellency, I know we are one family. But you see, it is dangerous to be a boy in a family following a girl when the girl is older than you. To these sisters of ours, because you're a boy, they think you stand everything. They keep scratching you. You cannot cry. You can't beat them. They scratch you. You can't cry. So, when you keep quiet, they think you're okay, even when they continue scratching you.
Because
But
for
my
you're not
sisters
crying.
really scratch me too much. Yes, he considered to come, but he made a point. So when we left, I met him. I said, Right Honourable, I didn't know you. Big boys also cry. He said, but now what can you do? If they don't realize that you are also in trouble, you must let the people know that things are not happening as they expect them to happen. Which I thought was good. He was a mentor. I liked him. When it came to speaking, really, you would trust Oulanyah to grab the opportunity at every moment, and you'd fit in. Chairing the house, yes. Both speakers were good.
Yeah.
But what I remember is that I think the speaker had more time she really kept or kept around, did more of the chairing than the deputy, and the deputy would come in when the speaker is not there. I had gone to Zambia. I saw in sessions the speaker would sit there, the deputy is here, and everything is going on well. In Kenya, they had started a system of there's a system where the panel of speakers, as this one is talking, after 1 hour, another one comes
in,
another one comes
out.
like that. Here, uniquely, when the speaker was in, she was the speaker. Even when the deputy was in the chair, he was the speaker, and the other wouldn't be there at that time, and that's how it was. But Right Honourable Kadaga would let everybody speak. Whether you are speaking sense or not, please, and I use this with a lot of caution. I don't want members to think that the public thinks sometimes you don't speak sense, but they would let you speak. And everybody would grab the mic and speak. Why? Because when they begin assessing the performance of Parliament, they put the number of times you spoke. So she wanted to protect people from being seen as if they have not been talking.
Right.
Now, that was not Oulanyah.
Yeah.
Oulanyah would give you a mic to speak when he's convinced you are going to speak sense. It would be very difficult for you to meander so much and look for what to say when Oulanyah is in the seat. Because he would patiently listen to you. And then at the end of the ask you, so, Right Honourable, what are you saying?
And that would irritate people.
So, Honourable, what are you saying exactly? It was embarrassing. Meaning you have really meandered around and wasted our time. So, to him, you needed to do research. You needed to be prepared to talk. Although also, like we said, you give a balance sheet. If you realize that you are opposed to him, his opinion, he would give you a chance once, a chance twice, then first leave you. And then keep around, build consensus on where he thinks you are going. And then maybe he would bring you or let it go. But when you have been given a chance to speak, I think this was a critical difference between the two. Both were right points for everybody to speak. Because they came to talk, they should get used to the mic. You see, going to Parliament is one. But building the confidence to stand on the mic and you speak. Leave alone seeing us speaking. I know some MPs who would just wait for press conferences on those steps of Parliament. Then they talk. That's where they earn their votes from. But on the floor of the House, they would hardly raise a hand. So there were sessions when everybody would talk. But yes, when the Right Honourable Oulanyah was in, it would be business, and he would do. The other difference is, in everybody speaking, sometimes would drag on. And Right Honourable Kadaga would let it be. I mean, it's the House. It's a national duty.
Yeah, national house.
But Right Honourable Oulanyah, no. If you drag it on, you would stop it somewhere and say, please, on this one we have concluded like this. Can I hear the ayes or the nays? And then it moves. So that difference in approach in work, yes. And I think, to me, he mentored many. you learn if you're a newcomer in parliament that you need to research. You need to spend some time to understand, first of all, to be confident about yourself and about the house, that when you speak with information, you're
more confident.
Yes.
Yeah.
So others would wait for matters of urgent national importance and have it drafted properly.
And read it.
Then they read it, and that is it, which was okay also. But that brings sanity. A new procedure came to Parliament that you don't just raise on a matter of urgent national importance on the floor. Come and inform the speaker early. I would like to talk about
because it may not be important.
So really, then on balance, it's very interesting because when initially you gave the comparisons, I straight away went. I had a soft spot for my good sister Rebecca for the soft diplomacy way of managing the house. But then once you conclude that in comparison, for me as a critique of our tax shillings, then Jacob Oulanyah basically wins, considering that we're having a conversation where we hope in the next several days we're going to have a new speaker. And the expectation is that if we want this country to move and we want the Legislative Assembly, which really needs to be the most important arm to check Entebbe. We have to have legislators whom we pay, who claim our votes as the panacea to our problems in rural Uganda. So if that is the case and we pay you to do so, Jacob is right that you should be speaking sense, and you should be organized. Basically the process should be value for money for
formalized and managed very well
for the citizen.
Not a market.
Recently I watch, when I'm free, I watch Parliament, the live coverage.
Debates.
Matters of national importance have degenerated to the extent
Village
that
matters.
some people are about to start telling us how many times their neighbors' dogs backed. There is no national, there is no element of national or importance in what most of them are raising. And what is worrying in the trend for replacing the speaker is an unfolding situation. Say, okay, we've had these 10 months. I think out of the 10 months, the late Honourable Oulanyah chaired 26 sessions, and the deputy chaired about 74 or 76 sessions. Yes, for the time he was indisposed. But if you look at the quality, if you went to the street today and see what has Parliament done, can anybody mention 2-3 things that are outstanding other than the censure of Zake? What is outstanding?
Actually, even I would struggle.
Before you go there, Sarah, we are going to...
Quite honestly, even I would struggle. So that's a very important point.
Tell us, what are the 3 things?
But I want to comment about...
If you can conclude on this first leg.
The Right Honourable Oulanyah's term as Speaker and the expectations of the people. True, I think the flower has been nipped in the bad stage because people have been very anticipative to see there's a big tussle between Oulanyah and Kadaga. And the president was very clear from the start and was for Oulanyah. Now Oulanyah has gone through. Now that we have a speaker who is practically directly in line with the president, how will this translate into dealing with the people problems? Because there's a perception that Right Honourable Kadaga, yes, would toe and also sometimes would toe the party line, but also times toe the people's line, you call the people or the parliament's line. You see, it's good. It's a right thing. Anytime, anywhere, that parliament, as much as possible, is made independent of the executive.
Must check.
That's my argument. Yes,
is made independent of the executive. So people wanted to see this. We have not been able to see this. We still have a chance to see it. Even when the NRM is leading. I mean, Right Honourable Kadaga was NRM. But at least somehow you'd find a balance. There's an urgent national interest, she will go. Then when it is on something pro people, again she will. And we've been waiting to see this. We hope we can see it. On that one, we have missed it. We have missed to see this opportunity with Oulanyah.
That's a very good
Depending
point.
on the leadership they elect.
Because
let me tell you, in some of these institutions, leadership is everything.
Of course.
Of course.
No, I agree with you entirely.
So if I hope that in the next 4 years, because 1 year is now almost, because we have 2 months to end the first year of Parliament. I hope that in the 4 years, Parliament can recover their space as a legislative arm mandated to work for
the
peace,
people.
law, order and development of Uganda, as well as promote constitutional governance. They can rise above pettiness to serve the people who elected them, and they can do proper checks and balances.
As expected.
Yes,
Okay.
on the executive.
Okay, so lady, honorable lady here, in terms of the death of Honourable Oulanyah, certainly there are also the negatives that have come through. It has exposed the fault lines of society. Of course, we are always drawn to things that are easy to, to deal with, perhaps. The tribalism that has come up, you've seen the social media making rounds with so many, like you've said, maybe the petty arguments that are being made here and there for the speakership to be maintained in Acholi. This was Oulanyah's term. It should be concluded as such. It is for northern Uganda. And of course, 2 things. The issue of poisoning, I think for me, that one scares me most. So it seems the chair is laden with thorns.
Aren't you faithful enough?
Well, so
God keeps you.
I don't know. Isn't this taking us somewhere as a country where we wouldn't want to end up? Because it seems then, even as Anita gets to that chair, the worry is how long she will take on it. So just a comment on that. Maybe UPC, did you have this kind of things really happening?
No, we did not. We did not. And the last Speaker of Parliament, now I'm going a bit partisan, the last official Speaker of Parliament, exemplary, was Francis Botajira. That is the last UPC government. Fantastic guy, humility, order, and organization and everything. But no, neither here nor there. No, he was good. So our time, these things were neither here nor there. But generally, quality of debate, of course, was top-notch. But 3, I think government was policy-led, and the leadership was basically about enabler for the people. So maybe that basically also made Parliament easy. But number 2, I think we had a relatively balanced Parliament, actually, which sometimes I think also matters, because
I think for your
we had a fairly strong DP opposition in Parliament, 54 versus about 70 plus for UPC. So generally, maybe you would say that there was a reasonable level of competition of debate, although guys would always keep on telling that UPC guys were doing the best they could and excelling that.
So where are we headed to with the tribalism? And is it a fact of multi-party politics? I thought it would,
Oh no, I thought, so sorry, I thought, maybe I got the question wrong. I thought you were asking about the performances from the previous one.
No,
but if you're talking about in terms of the tribalism thing going forward, I think it's very, very shocking and sad. I think particularly when I watched the clip doing the rounds from
Chief
CJ,
Justice.
Chief Justice.
And they're actually MPs as well.
Yes, much more from the Chief Justice, because for the Chole MPs thing maybe possibly brings the question of legislators and quality.
They're also hanging on to the media for...
Yeah, but I did not expect that tone to come from the Chief Justice, at all, considering even his own position, his own office. In fact, my suggestion was actually that he should have been the one to chair Parliament, the parliamentary process leading to the burial of Jacob Oulanyah before the election of a new speaker. Of course, the lawyers would have a slightly different view on that. So, but to the extent, therefore, that office is that very important. Even if some of these things were true, your job should be to basically calm down the nation and guide, rather than possibly to...
You talk in the kitchen, not in the sitting room.
Yeah. So I think that's rather unfortunate. But maybe it tells what the underlying situation in this country is, which actually this NRM government has not been able to deal in the last 36 years. And actually the North-South divide, which NRM is trying but using money, is returned. The burden of responsibility of this will go back to Mr. Museveni. My opinion is that actually he should take hold of these issues, calm down the nation, and create a situation in which these conversations are basically slightly much more positively mainstream. But that said, I think the Buganda Acholi thing
been
what
historical,
came to my
maybe.
head, possibly to an extent that the last elections, I would think that the guys who are dancing right now and that raised the devil's advocate argument, Sarah, that maybe actually this was something that was being pushed by the NRM. You know why? Because to do what was happening, trending, do this and basically kill Nup in northern Uganda.
But my feeling, Sarah, my feeling is that the president is responding to these issues. Why? Because, you know, the Chigezi region also tried to make the similar argument. Maybe that prohibited him from appointing a person for the Bank of Uganda.
Yes, and that's why I
and now
wanted
they
to
are
come
actually,
in.
yes.
You see, NRM came with a rhetoric of fighting nepotism and tribalism, part of the 10 points program. But the question we need to ask or interrogate is, to what extent did they walk the talk?
Yes.
Even when they've attempted to walk that talk, they walk the wrong talk. Because under NRM, when you write highlighting the sectarian tendencies, then you are the one
You are censured,
taken
actually.
to court.
Oh.
So what is criminal is talking about nepotism and tribalism and highlighting where it is done. Like Bzonto, when they did the clip of who is the Chief Justice, who is the IGP. Yet these were people occupying office. Yes.
And these ones are making fun.
And it is not Bzonto who appointed them. But you get a comedy team,
And
you now charge them with sectarianism. Are they the ones who propagated
They are
it?
propagating
So talking
sectarianism.
about sectarianism
Is a crime.
Is a crime. But practicing it is not a crime. So
No,
yes, but I'm coming. So that is embedded.
Sarah
Sarah,
is answering on my behalf. Carry on.
No, I want her to address her
Yes.
this issue as
I am
well.
coming.
Okay.
That's me after. Because then when it comes to the politics, patronage, because how did the president campaign in the north and the east? You people, this is
Give
your
me
term.
this is your term.
If you don't want it, you give Nup. That was
yeah.
the
That's
simple
how it
campaign.
yes.
Northern Uganda is the new bride of NRM.
Of course.
This is your term, and I will give you the jobs. So they gave the vote,
To him,
80%.
yes, and the threat is Nup.
It is the
And
highest
those Nup guys are Baganda.
region, the
Allegedly.
top region, I think next to Western Uganda. But the argument during Kadaga race was that Oulanyah brought more NRM votes on table than Kadaga, so why should Kadaga?
Be
It was
given.
among the issues discussed.
It was.
So then you get office. The first speech of the president was an attack on Uganda. I think for like 2 months. Of course, the attacks are still continuing with the land, whatever, Mayoland and the rest. But the first angry speech, I've never seen a victory speech which is
was
angry.
full of...
Because how can a victor be angry? You're supposed to celebrate.
Yes.
But the first speech after elections, the president was very
How did
bitter.
you see that it was bitter?
Just to go on YouTube. Even what he was dressed in.
That's why we're your guests. We're analysts.
Yes.
We're observers.
So that angry speech, yeah, attack on Uganda and the Catholics, was what ushered us into this new term. Then when it came to jobs, of course, as promised, the jobs went to the north. You have a chief justice, you have a speaker, they had the deputy IGP,
Yeah,
yes, and the secretary general of the party.
of the party.
These
yes.
are juicy positions,
They are.
including some other promotions in the army. So the north has been beginning to feel the sweetness.
The sweetness of
the
the
chair.
cake,
the cake that
which is even
bad,
attracting the UPCs
Yes.
to join, you know.
So going by the current talk of Gamba Nogu,
Hey.
now they had the Gamba Nogus everywhere. I can call the General Okech. I can call, who is the general who died? The army man?
Oketa.
Okay,
I can call Oketa.
What is Gambanogu in Acholi?
I don't know.
I have somebody to speak to. I'm connected.
It had changed to something in Acholi.
What is it?
Not yet, not yet.
Yes,
So
yes. So if I have a legal matter, you know, like the comedy people again say it is we. So they were getting everywhere and feeling the sweetness of power. Then a few months down the road, two of their three of
down
their
the road.
big people are gone. Three in 10 months. 3 people are gone. So under patronage, it shows a situation of hopelessness that now we are out of the national cake.
We are on our own.
But if we had a normal government that serves the wishes and aspirations of the people, such hopelessness would not arise.
Because
so
the
this
system...
is a symptom of bad governance. A symptom where, and it's common, the president goes all over saying it. You people, you voted no road. As if it's, yes, as if it is his pocket money. But he has said it. You voted badly, you have no roads. There is nobody to talk to, as if he's a president of the clique that supports him. He does not portray himself as a president of a nation.
But I was challenging you, Sarah, that it looks like he was trying to rectify that. Because when the Bachiga said we want another
No,
Mchiga,
it is because they know it is patronage. And the leader, like you need to keep, like pillow whispers. We want a road, we want a road, we want a road. So then he says, these ones now, they cannot reach me, so you will have no service. And he has said this one several times in his country towards, which is very unfortunate.
Agaba.
You see,
Yeah.
I am trying to put myself in his shoes.
Okay.
And see if I would have done it different from the
What
way
would you
Sarah
have done?
described
Yeah.
it. You see, to expect a normal government is very difficult.
So we should settle for the abnormal.
No. It doesn't have to be abnormal. In politics, it's not either or.
Okay.
In Bushenyi, sorry, in UPC, Bushenyi ate big.
So did the entire Uganda.
No, let's go slow.
He's on
Uganda.
Bushenyi ate
Bushenyi,
big.
okay.
Why did Bushenyi eat big? It used to vote UPC.
UPC.
They easily adopted UPC, even before some of the areas
And
in
UPC
Uganda.
transformed Bushenyi before even NRM came.
Yeah, there are many sons
By
of
the way,
UPC.
even
That's right.
under me, Bushenyi had people in government.
Okay.
So it's not just,
So
yes.
it's understand. You see, politics is a game of numbers. And
how the cake is shared.
Yes, the cake is shared. The cake is, there's no rule on how it is shared. You can get a person who after winning becomes like a churchman or a mosque man, says, may I have one? Everybody equal for everything equal for everybody. But a politician, a leader who has been through the campaign and you've been seeing the responses and you're preaching a certain message and people are responding, given the way they respond, is the way you also receive them. It's understandable, really. I wouldn't do it very differently. Yes, you may cover up here and there. I mean, there are ministers from Uganda. Many of them, a number of them are not members of parliament.
So you would act like a tribal chief?
No, it doesn't have to be tribal. We have ministers from Uganda, but a number of them are not MPs.
Yes.
So they voted them out, but Uganda must have a share in the government. So Sempija come, be a minister, Kasoro come, be a minister, even when they are not voted into parliament. You find an alternative way of doing it. But let me bring it this way. The tribalism, I don't know, in Africa, it's a bit,
it fuels the politics.
Difficult to disabuse people totally from tribalism. In Uganda, yes, we have tried, but in Kenya, it's worse. Every time the election comes, their camps are very known. This time when the big camps have been, who have been opposing each other, they are now uniting. Everyone is waiting to see what happens. Will people still go? You know, Uhuru is Chikuyu, Raila is the Luo. So these have been opposing camps. Then the Kalenjins come in. When the Kalenjins go with the Chikuyu, then the Chikuyu take the day. This time it seems the Kalenjins are on their own, or partly with Uhuru. Uhuru is now going with Raila. People are waiting to see what happens with the tribal, but it's largely tribal.
Abbas.
In Uganda, we have tried.
Okay, correct.
In Uganda, we have tried. The moment the government restored the tribal leaderships, the kingships and the others, people toned down on their tribal sentiments to fit into to accommodate them at the level of their tribal leaderships. Really. So people have a sense that when you are voting a national leader, it's not necessarily their tribe, because already you have your king here, you have your chief here, but the competence of the person. Although you also have to pity the people, those presenting themselves, even when they are from within that side, the level of competence and capacity differs. Now, I have also watched the video of the CJ. I want to put myself in his shoes also.
He's now the
only
leader.
problem I see is that he came to speak too early. He would have kept off the public. As a senior person, you speak from the kitchen, then or from the bedroom. When you come to the sitting room is
let
different.
others speak.
There are many people in the sitting room. Really, visitors have come.
You send Oulanyahs to speak.
You come when you are prepared. Let others do the rest of the work. But as CJ and the statements he brings that come through, he's still hurt. He's hurting, and he's hurting publicly. He's hurting overtly, and that's a bit dangerous.
I want to bring an end to this particular session we have, and we move on to the next item. But what my reading is that maybe the president actually is not responding to those tribal sentiments. If you see the outcome of SEC the other day, yesterday, because with all that talk that the actually MPs had, the politicians and everyone else, I don't think anyone is going to come from northern Uganda. Already, I think caucus has endorsed Tayewa for deputy. So, is the president
That was
trying?
the outcome today.
That will be the outcome, I'm sure, and it's going on. We're already getting rumors coming through. Yeah. So, I don't you think that the president is trying to address that issue indirectly?
You see,
because he has not even appointed.
And let's be fair. They actually have now come up strong. This was our theme. Our son has died, we want it to us. But I watched this campaign between Kadaga and Oulanyah. A number of Acholi who were even with Kadaga, I know them because I was deeply involved even from the periphery, I know. So people are taking advantage of the emotions, the situation now, that they want to put out their vent or to make their positions known. But the honesty in it is still limited. I was not surprised by the choice of the SEC yesterday because there's a precedent. What I don't know how it would have been if the deputy speaker was a Westerner. And now the precedent is that deputy speakers have taken over when speakers have not been there. I don't know what it would have been. But I mean, I want to deal with what is there. What is there is that the deputy speaker is Anita Sot. She has been endorsed to proceed to be speaker. Among the candidates who are presenting themselves, you know, strategically, a number of people from the north came through. I had my sister, a full doctor, Dr. Ruth Acheg. Acheg, she resigned her position, say I want to be. Somehow, I don't know who talked to her and said, hey, please, you wait. Doctors can do better.
There were 3 contenders for the deputy, yes.
Yes, from the north.
And then for speakership, 2 people.
And strategically, I think they are taking advantage of this. Yes, politics is sentiments. If you went for an election that is public, sometimes a leader dies. And the son is voted to replace them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Ochieno, I want us to go for a short break, and when we return, we'll continue the discussion. But we are going to go to another issue, certainly focusing on the race of speakership and what we make out of that race. It was a really rapid race. Everybody resigning. Many people resigned to join the race, and it was a scramble for position. And I think that is what we want to go further when we come back from the break. But let's get this short break and then we'll return to that discussion.
The Citizens Chatroom happens every Friday at 2 p.m. on Civic Space TV Online on Facebook and YouTube. We invite you to be part of this conversation. Civic Space TV, freedom always.
We are delighted that you are following us, and I'd like to encourage you to continue on all our social media handles, channels. Continue to engage. This is the civic space for engagement. And today we are handling, of course, a topic which is, you know, dear to every Ugandan right now. Honourable Oulanyah's demise and what it means to our country. Has his death brought to fore many other things that, of course, we have been talking about already? How do we deal with them? How do we go forward? And to handle these matters, of course, I have my usual team here, Sarah and Joseph Ochieno. And, of course, now Honourable Agaba. I think this is his 3rd time to be on Civic Space TV here. We are delighted that you are here with us. Before we went for the break, we were discussing, of course, the issue of tribalism. You didn't talk about the
tribalism versus development, and I suggest that no, it does not have to be.
Perhaps this particular episode will not handle that exhaustively. We need to talk about this issue much, much deeper, because when you hear the sentiments that people are making, the discussions on social pages, it's quite alarming. It looks like the country is already divided and torn asunder. So I would encourage that discussion to go on. But Sarah, before we broke off, the issue of the apparent poison, I don't know, poison seems to be moving.
Conspiracy theory.
I don't know if it is a
The
conspiracy theory, but we need to
yes.
comment on it.
You
And,
know, during lockdown, we had two prominent leaders that were unwell. The Kabaka of Uganda and the Speaker of Parliament. The Kabaka of Uganda, at first there were rumors that the Katiklo was in the conspiracy theories, keeping him to die. And then he appeared for the coronation anniversary and he was unwell. But I think that step was very important. You know, some people think that when you are a leader, you cease to be human. I am here, I have a cold. All people fall sick. But there is this funny mentality by, you know, the big man syndrome. That when you fall sick, you hide, you can't share. Yet you have emotional following and supporters who are affected by your absence.
Unwell. Okay.
So you don't prepare the people. You hide the information, even to know that somebody is unwell. Why should it be breaking news that somebody is unwell? I like President Buhari. He writes to cabinet, signs, posts on Twitter. I am off to UK for treatment. Spends there a long time. And his government has not fallen.
What about beer? Paul Biya.
Yes, Paul Biya is a tourist in his country. He comes for swearing in and goes away. But
He's permanently out.
of course, that one is an extreme
It's on life
situation.
support or
Yes.
extension.
That one is an extreme situation. But my point is, yes, you have a right to privacy. But you need also to manage information and share brief information to the extent possible. For the Kabaka, and I'll concentrate on the two leaders, prominent leaders. For the Kabaka, he went to Nairobi during lockdown for treatment. We saw the pictures. Kabaka is in Nairobi. No more. For the late Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah, we saw breaking news that Jacob Oulanyah has smuggled into
UK first.
Yes. And from then it's like as if he didn't recover. So he deteriorated. We don't know the reason. As for the other leader, the Katiklo gave a formal communication and said the Kabaka has allergies. The masks have exacerbated, you know, the situation. And that's what people
We
saw.
are managing, yes.
From the coronation he came, he passed the shopping mall just near here in Ntinda. So he saw Kabaka is in a shopping mall. So I said, okay, he's not as badly off.
He has announced he's
As
returning.
as we have seen, and because he said he wanted a few groceries on his way to the Banda Paris.
Okay.
So the public saw
Was
him.
excited.
Of course. So I think to me, leaders know that they need to manage information that is likely to cause an emotional crisis to their support bases. Later, the Kabaka traveled to Germany, something that resurfaced again in the Chief Justice's speech, saying he went on a jet, yet he flew
Public funds.
by Kenya Airways. So some people are wondering whether KLM is now our presidential jet. But I see the Chief Justice trying to, I don't know.
Promote
whether...
a conspiracy.
No. He's trying now. There's another clip
he's
flowing.
emotional.
He's trying to manage. But the people from Acholi are grieving. Ugandans are grieving.
us. All
This
of
is supposed to be national mourning.
Yeah.
So I think the people that are privy to the cause of death.
Is the family?
No. You see, when you are also a government leader, like the Katiklo gave a statement and said, this is a statement on the health of the Kabaka. Do you know there is an extent when you cease to be a confine of
The
a
private,
family.
yeah, yeah.
This is a speaker, number 3 in our order of precedence as a country. So there should have been a statement. The speaker has died. If the post-mortem results are ready, mention because of somebody has died.
So it means the post-mortem report is not available.
No, but in the
Whatever.
US it is not possible.
Sarah's concerns is
hide
even before the death
conspiracy.
occurred, because we don't even know what
The
happened.
management of this sickness
management
with
of
the public.
sickness, management of information, management of the cause is what is driving the conspiracy theories of poison, of elimination of actual leaders, as we saw the MPs, that there's a hit list to eliminate actual leaders. And the same happened with General Okech. And the controversy. The government said General Okech has fallen from a chair. It all looked awkward. A general from a plastic chair has fallen
Not even
and
in
died
the bathroom.
on a plastic chair. So it looked too awkward. I don't know whether anybody believed it.
Well,
Then later the spokespersons of them, and who announced in a rush, then they were told to keep quiet because we asked them, is that the post-mortem report? Said keep quiet, wait here from the doctors. Even the IGP said, I don't want anybody to talk until the doctors have spoken. But we never got to know what the doctors said.
perhaps it's
What
best.
we saw on the burial is the line minister. I will mention 2 speeches because it was also an angry, emotional burial, and the same is likely to repeat itself with Oulanyah, who was at the burial of Lokech. The line minister, General Kaindotafire, and the daughter of General Lokech. The daughter of General Okech said in brief, people should stop lies. Their father didn't fall, and he was not sick.
At all.
Yes. General Kaindotafire said, why would somebody groom an intelligent cadre, train them,
And then
then
kill
when
them.
they reach the top, you kill them? Whatever those 2 speeches meant,
No one knows.
what I know is that they are actually people read by the Chief Justice, said they demanded for an investigation. It has not
Come to
taken
fruition.
place.
That is
So
the question.
building on that, then Oulanyah, no, the general followed, the other general, I forget his name. Oketa followed Lokech. It was not as a high profile burial like Lokech. Then now Oulanyah, most high profile.
But it's not only in the north. There are many deaths that the reports have not been given up to today in
But
terms of
Professor
death.
Mutebile had a long-term illness.
Before Professor Mutebile.
Wait, let me come. I want to compare these
Okay.
immediate. And then he gets COVID and dies. Wasn't it clear that he got COVID? And they couldn't manage it because of underlying conditions? It was public. I mean, what is there to hide about a leader? It was public. There was no room for speculation. That's what I'm comparing with in the case of Oulanyah.
Fair.
So in
fair.
other words, we
It
can't
makes-
really blame the speculation and the rumor.
Yeah.
The issue is basically whether or not leaders who raise these issues raise them responsibly. But quite clearly, the burden of responsibility lies with the national leadership. They should have actually been guiding the country.
Fair and square.
in
I
as far
think
as
you've
this
put
issue is
it out
concerned.
very, very well. And it explains quite a lot of things. But of course, the general fear that continues in the country in terms of these high-profile deaths and all that, it's not conclusive at this point. But it's something that we shall get back to. Honourable, I would like you to start this conversation on the race for speakership. Having been in that parliament, what happened in the last one and now this race, how do you contradict those two campaigns? And what does this mean to the country?
I just had a comment to make as I was listening to my colleagues make their submissions on the speculations. I think there's nobody to blame for the speculation. Yes, you can blame the slow nature of communicating the sickness and the responses to the sickness, but at least there have been instances that somebody is out, is so sick. When he was admitted in Mulago, people knew, but they've been wondering what exactly
is the problem?
What is
with
the
the cause?
Is
the
it
speaker.
poison, as the father says? What is it?
In Africa, I have learned that nobody dies naturally,
Okay.
really, especially when you are younger.
But Mutebile did.
Yes?
That's the Sarah's point.
Especially when you are younger. Mutebile was 70 something.
70-something
But for a man of 56,
was living with underlying
tomorrow,
conditions.
anybody who dies below 60, I mean, there will be a lot of speculation. I hated it more when now pictures of the former speaker, when she was she visited her gods that side, began surfacing, and then people begin to bring up so many things, quite very unnecessary, but very confusing. Then there's a song they sang for the speaker for Kitagwenda when she was standing for speaker. I know the song myself. So
who sang it?
some of these artists composed the song and praising her. I said, those who are fighting, you should be careful. They will just die naturally like that.
I saw that.
And they bring it at this time when the speaker just died. It's very difficult to contain. So someone just died like that.
But this was not a
oh no, but he died unexpectedly.
Yeah.
It is the scenario, same scenario. So it's confusing. There is poison, there is bewitching, there is what. But the point is, the speaker has departed. Our speculations can be, we may not believe he has died, and I know it will continue. Yes, maybe management of how we communicate the sicknesses helps. But the point is, somebody has finally departed. You can run investigations, you can complain, but to me, it is better when you respect the dead and then you honor them. And we see them off really
Fast.
Yes, see them off well.
Was there going to be a crisis if we did not do this election now?
Now, you see, I hope this time Sarah will agree with me because I've been with Sarah. She disagrees with constitutional amendments. But for the first time, I want to persuade her that it is high time we amended the constitution, especially Article 82, regarding the seating of parliament in the absence of a speaker.
Or following death, for which there was absolutely no
vacancy.
You have been amending. I think
this time we should agree that it's right to amend. Because those who made this constitution, I'm sure didn't anticipate a speaker dying in a chair. So, because if they did, they would have been cultured enough to know you cannot hold an election to replace somebody before they bury them. But now the country has found themselves in a mess which they can't control. You must have an election before okay, even the burial could have been done, but now how are you going to bury the speaker before eulogizing him and seeing him off in the parliament? Now, how do you do it in parliament without a speaker? And the law says there must be the first sitting of parliament in the absence of the speaker is to elect the speaker. Now, that is catch-22.
It's a catch-22,
I agree with you, but maybe in a different way. I think, and I'm going to look for the answer on the debate on the legislative part of parliament. I find it very strange. Under the presidency, Article 109 provides for vice president to act for 6 months in the event that the seat falls vacant. And that's the most powerful seat.
Yeah.
And the vice president is not moreover elected. Under Article 133, in clause 2, the provision, the constitution provides that in case the chief justice's seat falls vacant, the deputy chief justice shall act for such a time until when there is no limit.
You see,
for the deputy chief justice to act, and we had Kavuma acting
for so long.
For so long, there is no limit.
I agree.
So when it came to parliament, I think the drafters. Because if you learn really good, because this was not a contentious issue.
Yeah.
I think the drafters made a mistake, and nobody had the sharp eye to see it. They thought that it would be carried through all the arms of government.
Actually, what they thought,
provide for transition.
What they thought was a parliament expires or lapses, and then a new parliament comes in. And when a new parliament is in, there's nothing they do in their first sitting.
That is obvious, but they did not. That's obvious. That is for new term. But you see, to say that somebody must complete a term, I think it was a mistake in drafting that nobody saw.
That's part
and until this time, it did not bother us.
Okay. So you agree with Honourable Agaba for that?
No, the other remedy in it also, that the other surgery to be done is the article mentions who shall not be elected as speaker. Already there is a provision to elect speaker among their own numbers. But they say if you are a minister or vice president, you can't be elected as speaker.
As speaker.
But there's a prime minister. If prime minister wants to be speaker, what do they do? Even the deputy speaker. So we must amend it to provide that if you are the deputy and you want to go up, you resign. If you are the prime minister and you want to go there, you
resign.
include more, you widen and make it better, such that they go in. But I would like the public to really or understand that the jostling for the job is circumstantial. It's embarrassing, it's painful, but MPs have found themselves in a campaign. Very intensive campaign.
But just very quickly, I'm just wondering. It is the Chief Justice who presides over the election of a new speaker.
Yes.
Why wouldn't the Chief Justice in this situation, okay, contrary to the law, preside over the seating the immediate seat, yes, precisely.
For paying tribute. Because
yes,
the other argument was that you cannot pay tribute to a speaker with a junior person
on the chair.
In which case, then the Chief Justice presides over election of a
yes, but also that must be the law. No,
fair enough. Yes,
the junior person, the junior person, the deputy speaker, while seated in that chair,
is a speaker.
No. I'm saying there was another argument. That I'm not saying. Of course, these are arguments that will all be balanced and the people sieve out what is right and what is wrong. That argument arose in some space yesterday. But, so if you are holding a title, you can only sit there as acting speaker. If the amendment we are talking about was there, and you are allowed to act,
for that
then
moment,
you sit and preside over the tribute session
as a speaker,
as acting speaker.
No, as speaker. When you are in the chair, you are the speaker.
But yes.
But when there is no this provision, you sit as deputy. You don't sit as speaker.
Okay, without that
provision
we are talking about.
You are not fit to preside over the tribute to the speaker. I want to borrow the riff from the Senate in the US. The chair of the Senate is a vice president.
That's correct, yeah.
But she does not chair the Senate on a day-to-day basis. She comes in when there's a tie in the Senate to break that tie. Her vote breaks that tie. And most likely in favor of the sitting president. But if we had such a provision that in the event of the demise of the speaker, then somebody can temporarily chair the House. That's also another option.
Which was basically my second element of the proposal.
Let me bring it this way.
Honourable.
Members of Parliament, let me now be open to you, are very, very selfish about being members of Parliament. And about Parliament, we attempted a proposal
but you think they
to allow.
own it?
No, I'm just being honest. Because we have seen this. When we benchmarked Zambia has 2 deputy speakers. Because the provision for speaker allows anybody to be speaker. Abbas Agaba, I'm not a member of Parliament. I can be voted by Parliament to be a speaker.
Yes.
But the first deputy must be a member of Parliament. The second deputy may or may not be. It doesn't matter. Parliament here in Uganda, they care so much about being members of Parliament, and the law is clear. It must be among their own. Now, there is no way they will pass a law to allow any other person to chair Parliament. 2, even for the Chief Justice to chair Parliament is for one purpose: to elect the speaker and goodbye. Maintain the independence.
And why would that be a problem?
No, he cannot chair even eulogizing. It's the work of Parliament to eulogize the speaker. They wouldn't allow him. But to come and preside over election of the speaker, very well come after it. He goes off and says.
But so you are saying that the race is in order because the law is having a gap in it, and therefore
really it's
unfortunate.
The lacuna in the law
although it's unfortunate.
That's one. But also 2, I did not anticipate this scramble, this rush. I've seen ministers resigning. Hey, I mean,
but what are they running away from?
No, they are not running away from. They are running for. That
is the culture NRM created.
Because being speaker,
you see, in the African setup, they say that when you see a frog dancing on the roadside, you know there's some music in the background.
Is that so?
Yes, you cannot have 7 ministers vying to join the other side.
Speaker is bigger than minister.
No, I know.
Yes, that's
I know, but you see, the other one is not guaranteed. Some of them were even ready to resign. But what are they running away from? What is the music?
I thought it's all service. Because it's all service of the country.
On one side, you may look at it that way, but people, Now, for example, there are people who thought it is an actually position.
Oh.
A number of them say, I'm resigning.
There were about 5
Some of
contestants.
others came back and said, no, stayed put. Then others anticipated that, no, I've been there, I've been standing for deputy. Maybe this is a time to be considered.
Okay.
They also, when an opportunity comes, you seize it as soon as you can. But the point I'm making is, I did not expect that it would attract this kind of
numbers and the jostling.
Yes,
and,
especially given that it's like we are
given the
in-house,
circumstances.
we are
And
someone
you
has
have
just
the
died. Would like them to be to be sent of well, even without this pull and push. Maybe this way the party would pretend, even without waiting for them to compete. SEC would have pretended, but you can only know them after they express interest. If they don't express interest and you decide for them, it will be like when UPC used to decide from Kampala.
you see, Honourable Agaba, somebody...
UPC never did.
That in Kitagwenda want Abbas, he has the card for UPC.
No,
But when, if the
no, actually, I need to intervene.
Okay.
No, I need to interject.
Yes.
I know Abbas is a young legislator. Those are rumors that NRA came with because it actually didn't happen. And actually, I commit this program to a discussion about the process of electoral process in UPC, including parliamentary elections, in which in UPC, for information, in UPC, a parliamentary election in Hoima, the presiding officer would have to come from another region, not from Bunyoro. Did you know that? Fantastic. So, by the way, if that was a joke, it's fine. But if it's not, that is very misleading stuff.
One of the arguments the public was making is that if SEC was saying they are maintaining precedent, that's why Anita was elevated under SEC agreement. Then there was no need to allow people to even express interest because
they don't have this idea before.
So when did the idea come up
until
from?
People expressed interest in the meeting of vetting them. Say, but hold a minute. The circumstances we are in, we are mourning a very big person who has just passed on. Even competing for his position is wrong. Why don't we take the easier route? So let's keep the president, go up, another will come down. Finished.
But on that issue of precedent, I find the argument weak.
And
because
contradictory.
the previous precedent, the culture they had built is of somebody being a deputy for 10 years. It is assumed that throughout the 10 years, they are well grounded.
And
Steer the house. And it makes sense. So we had Kadaga for 10 years as deputy. She was elevated. You had Jacob 10 years as deputy. Elevated. Then you have somebody
who came yesterday
with no experience of legal practice, just a lawyer, nothing known into the practice, parliament for 1 term, speaker, 10 months. What is the precedent? Precedent.
So
the honourable precedent is.
Sarah, what would you prefer?
No. I'm saying I find it problematic. The honourable precedent is the title. Deputy.
Okay.
But the other components of the precedent
the individual he needs.
don't know the merit, the experience you acquire as a deputy does not apply. I find that argument very weak.
Of course, the men would have easily, before you on the Agaba, the men
without the explanation.
Sarah, I seem to agree with you on that argument, but the men would have easily said, why are you against a fellow woman? They would just say that it's about an issue, the gender blackmail. I need you to discount that. I mean, because they think
that gender blackmail does not apply.
No, but I agree with you. I've also tried to look at the situation. What if Honourable Kadaga had applied to express interest? Then you say, hold a minute. Yes, we have a precedent.
With these sentiments of poison,
witchcraft.
Everybody would have
if the party chooses...
No, what I'm saying, the public sentiment would have shifted. Say she's the one who did it. I'm glad she did it.
We are glad that she did not.
No way out of it. The party ended up promoting somebody who has been there. Because even getting a new one into it who has not been there. When you are in a catch-22, it's not a very easy decision. But somehow to have harmony, that has been done, but that's not all. Because this animosity, this expression of anger from the
do you know what the best option would have been? The best, as Sarah made the suggestion. because it was so brief and so short, and considering that most of the new entrants who came, some of them were substantially legally grounded, substantially, experienced and solid, with respect, credit, best wishes to Anita. But really, we have people like my younger brother Jacob, or both of us.
Very good
is
guy.
substantially
Very good
respectable,
guy.
They had
composed
twice.
guy,
I know
somebody who,
Once,
possibly,
but,
amongst
rules
others, would
also.
have done almost everything put
That
together.
Jacob would have
He
done.
to
applied.
fill the gap.
He
Yeah.
applied, he expressed interest, but the party thought the president will continue.
Yeah, different
I
from
now
my
pray for him
right.
for deputy speaker if he came, because he's a good guy. If he came, he can also be trained to raise in the structures. But all in all, I think decisions are taken given the circumstances in which you take the decision. It should be an appropriate
So there must be some
decision
other
that-
underlying reason rather than.
Well, I'm not a member of SEC anymore,
He's
so
not
I don't
privy
know what,
to the
what
discussions
happened there.
in SEC.
Yes.
Yeah, but we were surprised, I think, with the outcome. But though, the argument also is that maybe the president read the mood in parliament, because majority seem to be, supporting among Anita.
She has reasonable influence over
has
MPs.
reasonable,
She really
yeah,
does.
so probably
But
they
just like
didn't want.
Kadaga had, but being in that position, let's not take it lightly. Right, Honourable Kadaga had influence.
Are there lots of
over
sweets
members
there?
of
What? I don't
parliament.
know.
Just like Honourable Anita Amung really has some
Favors,
grip
yes.
over members of parliament.
Trips,
The
committees,
constitution
yeah.
gives
And
you power
positioning
to also
yourself.
keep your power.
Yeah.
You must keep it. You must
Uh-huh.
see how you dispense it.
Okay.
So, but we wish her well.
We wish her well now that she.
I don't know who is coming for deputy. Wish them well. All we need,
There is also
all we
opposition.
need is
There's Basalirwa.
let the house get. Well, if I say get back on the right track, I may be misunderstood. But we want it on track. We want it on track. We want it to be pro people as it has been before. This is when people will shine and be accredited for performance.
Okay, I think we've almost exhausted the discussion, but there's one thing that I think we have not.
Yeah, for me,
engaged in.
really, what are the circumstances? The remains of the late Jacob Oulanyah are not in the country. He's not the only VIP that has died out of the country. We've seen even the governor Mtebile, who was credited for transforming
The economy.
Uganda, forgot that hospitals are there and had to rush out of the country. So the hospitals in Uganda are not fit to treat any VIP. Over 36 years of my brother's party being in power uninterrupted. Uninterrupted.
That is serious.
You don't even have a hospital to write home about. I don't know. Even we had the previous, before Mtebile, we had the General Pecos Kutesa.
Out of the
We
country.
had to remain, yeah, people had to wait for remains from India. We had the Brigadier Kitagwenda, Right Honourable, remains abroad. So what is transformation when it comes to NRM? Where I'm sure even maybe the president fears. I don't know when we last saw him inspecting Marago. I wish he could take a tour, go through the world. No, because you see, as you say, I have transformed the country.
Yeah.
You should be able to write
show.
down and say, in this area there is this. What is the transformation that NRM sings about? When our hospitals, even VIPs even fear to stand on the veranda of our hospitals. What transformation is that?
Sarah, when you
So I
talk
know-
like
Okay,
that,
me.
Agaba can easily say you are an opposition because you are raising.
It doesn't matter. We have gone above that bracket.
Monica,
Facts don't lie.
No, I'm
That's
just
why
playing.
NRM
Yes,
is
that's
not
what I was
advocate.
coming
the time
to.
this
Facts
made
don't
more sense
lie.
to me is when Honourable Maringa, then Minister of Health, died from the village there. And his body was brought to Murago into the
For
mortuary.
post-mortem.
And there was no
At
way
that
to
time-
rush him.
At
for
that
first
time,
aid.
Maringa in the mortuary
In
was
his
not
own
different
mortuary.
from other people
Okay.
in the mortuary. I mean, if no Ugandan understood it better, that was the right time to pick it. Some efforts have been made to
Like-
transform Murago. It's not as it was. It may not be to the extent we want it.
The renovations
But
recently
some,
done.
yes, some work has been done on Murago, but a lot must be done. there was a hospital to be done at Ruboa. Things vanished in air like that.
That was
Will corrupt,
campaign money.
corruption.
Will
No,
corruption
that was
last.
campaign money.
The site, the MPs were stopped. By
The thing that needs to be poisoned in this country.
That was campaign money.
The health, yes, I
I'm
am.
coming
The
back
thing
to
that
you.
needs to be
I'm still
poisoned
with
in
this
this
lady
country
here.
is corruption. We need to
Okay, so I think that point has to be understood by people, because when you talk about the civil service, or the social service rather, those who talk about it, Honourable Agaba, you know, you are blacklisted. They tell you, know, if you are in NRM, like some of us were there, and you are continuously,
you are not around and have your own vision.
you are seen as an
even
opposition. But I'll come back to you.
Vision, you can
No,
give
for you, you are in
ideas.
self-defense right now.
You are not devoid of ideas. You must add. No, now we have parish development model.
It's going to be
Another miracle.
The vision continues.
Is it going to be the
metamorphose
hospitals?
from PMA
To something else.
Yes. Every
Just
time.
changing names with the same idea.
The time of PMA, it was PMA that was needed. Entandukwa came, it was Entandukwa that time. Now it is parish development model, and everybody is focusing
running
there.
around.
But yes, let's do the parish development, but also develop the health center 3s so that our women can give birth there. If they are referred to the district hospitals, they can find the facilities there. Really, I don't think there's much more to be able about it. We need a good
health center, health system.
Health system.
The only point that Sarah raises is that NRM, we have been around for 36
Uninterrupted.
years. Uninterrupted. That is
And they
so.
sing
But let me pick
transformation.
from Honourable
Yeah.
Mr. UPC here. Of course, they were, you know,
Does he agree with
the
the
foundation
uninterruptedness
of
NRM or
the
the-
health
Oh no, the
system
NRM
in
is
Uganda.
uninterrupted for 37 years actually, because you guys came to power. Because you don't know this, you're relatively young, and I'm saying it deliberately.
No, I know.
Look, you're relatively young at the time. So NRM actually came in 1985. So NRM, DP, through Lutra, because that was the original. That was the original arrangement. NRM, DP.
This is new.
No, you didn't know. NRM, DP, the Lotrois, a section of the clerics, which I will not mention for purposes of this,
Yes.
you know,
Whatever was not
came
UPC
together.
was NRM.
But no, the idea was you get rid of Obote and a few of these top bad guys, and then we form a transitional government. And then NRA, once the Okenos delivered the government, you know, they pulled away and then played them. That's how the Okenos remained on their own. But so really, you guys have been in power since 1985 July. But you know, throughout that time in my East Tororo, if I can just take West Bodama, half of Tororo district, you are RDC in Putaleja. There is not one single school. There is not one single hospital, public hospital. There is not one single road. There is nothing in
But
state.
Saro Pendo was minister here.
For 2 terms.
From here,
For the last 36 years, I'm telling you that the tarmac in Nagongera is gone.
Can you deal with the health sector?
You know,
first
The tarmac
and
is gone.
concentrate
the
on
tarmac
that?
is gone, and then a whole kilometer from Rubongi barracks to town is gone. So really, the health sector, as I said, no hospital, no. You know, when I came back, when I was growing up, Nagongera Health Dispensary had a maternity unit specially built, including with baby cots side to the side for the women who would rather have given birth.
Wow.
And I saw it with my own eyes. When I went to visit on my return, I found this ward mixed with women, children, including pregnant women. By then,
In
I
the
wrote an
same
opinion
ward.
piece at the time. I didn't have a formal column at the time. I wrote an opinion. I was furious. So sort of changed now to that effect. No, it is terrible. So really, if I look at Tororo and I say, what transformation? But you know what? 36 years.
You
But
feel
you know,
like shifting from Tororo to Mbari.
no, shift
Would
from
there
Tororo
be
to
any
Mbale when
difference?
Mbale was the best city in East Africa, thanks to UPC.
With a regional hospital or what?
And now it is
Did it
like a
have?
mini slum. Okay, granted, you guys gave it a city name, title, whatever it gives it, neither here nor there. No, I think it's a crisis. But since we are really discussing an element of Oulanyah's health services, one thing which is very interesting, you talk about Malinga, who unfortunately again you guys grabbed from UPC, but lucky
So
you
you came
guys.
for Rutani.
I had huge respect for him, and actually Malinga nearly became actually UPC leader. Remember, I was actually in there. So it's very extraordinary. But the fact, as Sarah says, that we have key leaders who go for treatment abroad and then go and die abroad, including young Mayom, you know, they go and die abroad.
India,
you know,
Europe,
India and many of those
and-
places. But then I wonder this time around for my brother Jacob, Forget about actually the controversies about the cost of transportation, which has actually brought some of these identity question conversations, where actually, to be fair, and that's one of the reasons I'm trying to bring it, some of the other people who were demonstrating about the principle about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Rather than whether or not Oulanyah was an Acholi or something like that.
Mm.
But again, both sides, the leadership in NUP and the leadership in elsewhere, need to be able to manage these things responsibly so that we're able to clarify this thing.
Yeah.
So really that was the background. Because most Ugandans would have been very concerned that the manner in which Jacob
VIPs,
was ferried, quote, abroad, whatever the case. But we needed him alive. He's he's a friend of mine in that sense. So we needed him alive. But then the biggest irony is that you mentioned Malinga. But you know that actually the health minister the other day went in the delegation that went, Uganda's health minister goes, to follow a patient, Ugandan patient abroad.
Yeah.
She comes back and has cheek to say that she wants to become the speaker, meaning she's so grand, that there's a new magic she wants to deliver. I found that was the biggest.
And she was a former
irony,
UPC, I think, as well. Probably.
No, most of these guys were
The
UPC. I'm sure even you, Agaba, I really hope that once Museveni retires, you guys consider
So I would
coming
like
back.
you to conclude in a few minutes.
In conclusion,
yes.
I want to say this, that really it's unfortunate. Jacob Oulanyah, for the short time he's lived, he's amazingly been a big guy. He happens to be a big guy who grew and rose just unfortunately in wrong times, including under wrong constitutional framework. And so for that reason, therefore, the resting of his goes through some of these controversies. But that, to his credit, like him or love him, whatever he stood for, he ran with it. And as I said, for the little trajectory, I think he's credit. But beyond that, Oulanyah's demise gives us huge opportunity generally to review ourselves, both as individuals, 2, political decisions that we make and choices that we make, 3, political organizations that we represent, particularly those of us as leaders, how we actually conduct and carry the country and the population with ourselves. And then finally, to Mr. Museveni, I think the burden of responsibility lies with him to calm down this nation, address the key issues, including the obvious ones which I didn't really want to address for information. They actually have got every reason to say that NRA has something for them. If you consider what NRA did to them from 1986, particularly March, May, for over 20 years, leading actually to the settlement in the conflict in northern Uganda. And from that day to date, other than the quietedness of guns, which we all contributed to, it was not an NRA thing, which we all contributed to, there is very little to show in practical development in northern Uganda. And that, as part of reparations for the people of northern and eastern Uganda, is something that NRA must put into the table. But the broader national healing and reconciliation is something for all of us leaders. And it's not going to be acquiescence, it's going to be national consensus.
As an individual, I was able to reflect, and I talked about it with close family members. You're like, this political life, the hustle of life and everything, the vanity in it, the pursuit for wealth, the dissatisfaction with what you have and all that. And so I think for me, that one is very, very important. It has helped us to reflect individually, but also as a country where we would like to be. But of course, he also makes a recommendation that by and large, it's the president as the head of state to steer this boat Uganda to a better direction. I don't know how you would conclude this matter, but it's been a somber discussion.
My respects to the Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah.
Yeah.
Condolences to the family. There is no doubt that he was Omoro's finest export.
Lion.
The Lion of Omoro. As he transitions to the next world, may he rest in eternal peace. I think what remains and what people normally reflect on the passing of such a great personality is, what then do we take forward? What lessons do we pick?
Yeah.
As for the part of Parliament, I think, we are lucky to have Anita Mong and Tayeba Thomas as Speaker and Deputy, because that's the decision of the caucus. But then you have Asuman coming in from the opposition, but we know the tyrant of numbers. So unless the Northern Caucus votes in anger for opposition, that's what can cause that
You've
tilting.
had the chairman disassociating
Is
himself
that
from
what
it
you pray for?
already.
No, I'm saying we are analysts here. We don't carry emotions. Yeah.
But would you pray for it? They vote in anger.
I want a
It
better
possibly would be
speaker
good
for
actually
Uganda.
for the country in
Sure,
terms
I
of
want
building
a better
consensus.
speaker
Yes.
for Uganda.
Yeah.
I don't care about your party emotions.
Gender or
Yes.
religion or any other.
So I think it's important for whoever goes through to understand that a speaker must serve the country,
Absolutely.
rise above pettiness, and drive the national interest and the common wishes and aspirations of the people as mandated in our constitution. As for our healthcare system, we know President Museveni has a jet and he can fly his family abroad. He's not disturbed by emergencies and challenges
Traffic.
that we go through in the hands of a dilapidated health system like ours.
And he's got an
During
emergency van in his
COVID,
in
it
his
was
in his.
proven that all the middle class and well-to-do run private hospitals, although most of them were again detained there. We saw dead bodies being detained amidst the pandemic. But it's because they do not have a national health care system to run to. And it's a shame. It's an embarrassment. There are key aspects to transforming a country. One of them is education. One of them is, second is health. The third one is the social welfare, social security
Yes.
of the people. The three tenets, Mr. President, do not exist in Uganda. You keep telling us you've transformed Uganda. Can you build the health sector for Ugandans to get access to better health care?
Fair and square in terms of a clarion call, actually. That's what Sarah is making in those three areas, which we all agree. I think there are challenges within our country. But that's not to say we disagree or, you know, I don't even want to go into the politics of it, because a lot of times when you make such recommendations, then the politics come to play, you know. But that is the experience, the status of the ordinary Ugandan. And I think she has made a fair recommendation. Honourable, would like you to make just a few key conclusions and, you know, guide the country as we go forward.
Well, no, not really very different from my colleagues. The need for a better healthcare systems for us all. Yes, I differ with Sarah because I acknowledge there's something that has been, and I've been to Murago. There's some progress being made, but we can do better. We could do more. We could have a district.
Ukraine.
Well, we can analyze, but
fundamental.
we could have a functional
Those are analytics,
district
okay.
referral hospital in every district.
Okay.
We could have a functional health center 3 in every sub-county. Really, we can.
At least the infrastructure is there.
Such that my people in Kitagwenda don't clamor for Murago. Murago is far. Getting them from Kitagwenda for referral to Murago will be like Kampala to Nairobi. Really. If you have you have a stable system in Utambara, in where real people can stay where they are, and they will enjoy it. Two, and this we learn from the fact that our people have to go out on emergency to be treated. Dr. Ruth Acheng said the Right Honourable Oulanyah died before he received treatment.
He was still being stabilized.
He was being stabilized the time where I followed the
and then
Brigadier
why the
Mayombo.
long journey to that?
I followed Brigadier
hospital.
Mayombo through sickness and death. I saw him at IHK.
Dying.
He was almost gone. I was with some Korean doctors. We had go to KIU, Ishaka, and one of them said, we have missed an opportunity to save his life. That's when they put him on dialysis. They got him on the jet, take him to Nairobi. They want to take him to Tel Aviv.
So what would have happened in that instance?
If attention had been given early, if the dialysis had been started early, maybe by the time he goes out, he would still be able to appreciate the treatment, to respond to the treatment given. By the time he went, we realized it was a bit difficult. Remember, Mayombo had been taking decisions for others when he was PS. This was now, I think it was Aronda, the army commander at that time, and Mayombo was the PS. But I mean, both are now gone. We could do better with a good healthcare system. It's for us
in Uganda.
Two, of course, we are all saddened with the death of the Right Honourable Oulanyah. We pray for him. We pray for his reception, good reception in heaven, for his life beyond here. When Abiriga died, Honourable Abiriga died, during that time of the funeral and blah, blah, everyone was looking through his family to see, does he have anybody
Who
possible
can
who can
replace
come
him.
through? Unfortunately, it appears
From
the
the
children.
family?
Yeah.
Yes, everyone was interested.
But you saw
the popular.
those people. You know, and sorry to interrupt, Agaba. Lokodo, the family said they were all depending on one person. But what has Adam done? The hopelessness of the people.
The whole
A
district
minister died and said, 40 children, all the brothers were there, all our children were educated by... I mean, what a transformation have you people done?
No, but
The same Oulanyah family, they are saying they were always dependent.
Sarah, we are concluding.
Okay, I know, but...
No, but even Sarah knows there are many who depend on her.
Of course.
So what transformation have you done?
No, this is how Africa is.
What
This
is
how
transformation?
we relate
Extended.
as
Oh,
family.
yeah.
Transformation should be in the systems where all of us go or belong. But back to family, I mean, I am looking after many.
But you see,
They are
if
not even
we had
relatives, but-
social welfare protection, then you wouldn't have this helplessness of the people.
There would be an insurance.
Yes, you would
Sarah,
like,
Sarah, it
but I don't
doesn't
want to
change
start a new debate.
You are starting a new debate.
Let me stop.
Yeah.
So, but where it started from, I'm sure it might also arise now that the speaker is gone. If anybody in his family is there that can take on this is how you soothe, you heal.
Are you recommending that?
I'm just making my comment. I am not a voter in
To
Omoro.
retain the care.
I'm not a voter in Omoro, but to soothe, I mean, Ochieno said the president should come up and make a statement to heal the country. That's part of the healing, if they actually think it is worth it doing. So as we wish him well, finally, like I mentioned before, I think the public has great expectations in the parliament. Honourable Oulanyah has departed, but let the struggle keep on. Let's have a reasonable parliament that talks for the people, that cares about the people. This is what people want here most, and that delivers services to the people.
Perfectly said. That has been from my team here. It's been a delightful conversation. And I want to thank you, my panelists, for those very kind comments and also bigger comments concerning the country and the recommendations that you're making, which we are picking from the death of our colleague, our beloved friend and father and everything, a senior citizen of this country, Right Honourable Oulanyah. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you so much. We'll see you another time.